On today's video, we're going to talk about 3 things that the bass are trying to tell you and you're missing. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today on this video, I wanted to talk about, missing cues from fish, missing some things that the fish are telling you on any given day that could result in you missing a very, very effective pattern or a presentation that's going to work under those circumstances. These are 3 things that the bass are trying to tell you that they want and you may be missing. So let's go ahead and get started. The first one that I wanted to talk about is very pertinent to this time of year where during the spring, you're looking for spawning fish or fish that are at least around, shallow spawning areas. And you might be flipping and pitching, whether it's a Texas rig soft plastic bait or it's a jig. Those are kind of real common type of presentations this time of year. And so, a lot of times when you're flipping and pitching a jig or a Texas rig, you're essentially just pitching it in there, letting it fall straight down, lifting it a couple times, and then bringing it back to the boat. Okay. And a lot of times, and everybody's experienced this, right? A lot of times you'll pitch in there, lift it once or twice, and then as you're reeling it back, the fish will bite at that point. This is something that a lot of times you'll just chalk up to, a fluke. But a lot of times this is something that you really, really need to pay attention to and alter your presentation accordingly. If you start getting fish to bite as you're reeling the bait back, that is a good indication that you might need to change to a more horizontal presentation. So one of the things that I like to do when I'm flipping and pitching this time of year is I will put the boat a little bit further away from the cover. I'll pitch in, and this is when I'm just trying to like gauge the bite, figure out like what the fish want on any given day. Once I dial it in, I can do whatever, and as long as I'm presenting the bait in that manner. But I'll stay away a little bit further away and pitch to that likely cover, right? Do that whole turn or flipping and pitching process, pitch it in there, lift it a couple times, and instead of like pulling it out of the cover real fast and reeling it real fast back for the next presentation, I will actually swim that bait back. So I'll like keep the rod tip a little bit lower and reel it pretty consistently on the way back. Maybe I'll like reel and pause on the way back. But essentially I'm kind of doing 2 different presentations. I'm doing a traditional flipping and pitching presentation, and then I'm doing a swimming type of retrieve on the way back, and then I'll make another presentation. Now this is not something you want to do all the time because it's a little less efficient. Like if I've got a good flipping and pitching bite, I want to make that real quick presentation and reel back real fast and to make the next presentation. I want to have to like slowly roll it back to the boat. But as you're trying to like gauge what the fish want, I think that is a really good way to kind of test, hit 2 birds with 1 stone, so to speak. And if you do start getting some bites on the retrieve back to the boat with a more horizontal swimming presentation, that may be a good opportunity for you to switch to something like a chatterbait, a swim jig, a spinnerbait, or something like that. So that is one thing that a lot of people miss out on that can mean getting onto the right pattern for that day. All right, so another thing that bass try to tell you often is, especially during the spawn. Again, this is another one that the bass are really speaking a different language this time of year. But and again, everybody's experienced this where you get a good solid bite, that nice textbook tap. All right, and you just reel in the slack real quick, set the hook, and there's nothing there. You just wiffle balled it. That is a very frustrating situation, but it is something that you really need to pay attention to, because once you turn that into a positive during the spring when the fish are spawning, it can really benefit you. Essentially, what those fish are telling you a lot of the time is that they're on the bed. You know, those fish are that bite, it could have been a bluegill. It could have been a fish that just ate it weird. But more often than not, if I get a bite and, you know, it maybe swims off the bed and, or, you know, starts swimming away with it, and I go to set the hook and there's nothing there, or the tail's gone on my bait, that is a great indicator that you need to make multiple presentations back to that exact spot and move slower. And a lot of times, one trick that I'll do is I'll utilize scents. I'll put some you know, links to some of my favorite scents to use during this time period in the description below, but I'll actually put scents on my bait that I'm using. And I'll make sure that if I am making multiple presentations to a spot, I'm going to be doing something that stays in that strike zone longer. So like Texas rigs or shaky heads or a wacky rig or something like that, so I can keep it in what I think is a bed. But you know, we were just at the Mississippi River last week for the Dick Hiley Bass Classic, and or I'm not wearing it, I'm wearing the hat. And a lot of the fish that we weighed in, I was just clued in to their presence by getting a bite and missing the fish. And usually, like any other time of the year, you miss a fish, you're generally not going to get that bite again. Not always, but a lot of the time. But during the spring, usually the fish is just moving that bait off the bed. So if you make multiple presentations back to that spot and fish it very deliberately and slowly, you can generally get that fish to bite again. And so always pay attention, and never always pay attention to those fish that you miss. Stop, put those power poles down, put the trolling motor on anchor mode, whatever you got to do, stay in that spot and give it a little bit of time. And more often than not, you're going to catch that fish. All right, so the third thing that a lot of people, you know, miss out on when a fish is trying to tell you something is when a fish follows a bait but never once, you know, actually commits to the bait or you know, bites the bait at all. You just happen to bring the bait in, or you're looking on forward-facing sonar, you watch the fish, you know, follow the bait, or you visually see it and it just does not end up eating it, you know, all when you're bringing it all the way back to the boat. That is something that happens throughout the year. It doesn't matter what season. You're going to have followers that just will not eat a presentation, and it is extremely important to pay attention to that and take that as a little bit more than a fluke. Because that fish that is not committing to your presentation but is following it is telling you that something is off about that presentation, whether it's the color, the size, the speed of the retrieve, the action of the bait, whatever it may be. The bait itself is another big one. You need to make a change, okay? So I can't tell you what that change may be, but oftentimes it's the speed of the retrieve, the way that you're working it, the bait, the actual bait, the size of the bait, and the color. Those are the main ones that come right off the top of my head when I have a following fish that doesn't commit. And you need to switch it up. It's just very, very important that you switch it up. Maybe not the first fish that follows the bait, but if you continue to see a second fish follow the bait but not commit to it, or a third fish, that's when you need to be like, okay, we need to change presentations. Same thing happens with a topwater. If they just completely miss a topwater bait, you need to switch something up, because that's just, fish generally do not miss a bait. There's just something last second that turns them off, and they don't want to commit to it. So anyways, guys, those are just some things that the bass try to tell you that you really need to pay attention to. There's a lot of other things, but those are three really big ones. So let me know what you think about this video topic in the comment section below. Let me know if you have any other things that you would add to this list. And also, if you have any questions, I'd love to hear those and do videos on those topics in the future. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. I'm going to see you out on the water. Trust the process.